Charles Omenahue, oblique, will be limited. Ambry Thomas, ankle, limited. Go ahead.
What is Charles's status with the team after the arrest on Monday? You said he's going to practice. Like, what is he going to be available for the game?
We're letting the legal process take care of itself. So if he's healthy, he'll play this week.
If indeed what's been alleged is you have reason to believe that's accurate, does it give you any pause to play him after he was allegedly pushed his girlfriend down?
Well, we've looked into for the last 24 hours or 48 hours, not necessarily myself, but other people. We feel very good letting the legal process take care of itself, and don't feel we shouldn't kick him off our team at this time.
The injury to Debo something new, or are you concerned about that at all?
I mean, it's been there for a little bit, and I think he'll be all right, but it concerned us enough to not let him go today.
Did Jimmy Garoppolo have an X-ray yesterday? You indicated Monday you thought that was happening on Tuesday.
Yes, and I don't expect to have him this week.
All those people that you mentioned are key people. Do you expect them to all be available for the games?
Yeah, I expect him to, but there's no guarantees. Especially when it being the NFC Championship game, I think there's a better chance they'll be ready since there's nothing guaranteed after this. So hopefully keep our fingers crossed.
In terms of play calling and play design, how much has your method of teaching those things so that they're executed properly changed over the years, or has it changed much?
It changes based off of how people play them. So you got to look at what the techniques are that week, how D-line play, how linebackers play, coverages, how people are coached, how schemes change. So plays are just plays. It's how you tie them together, how you hide them, how you do things off of them, and it's how you coach them.
Is it a lot of it video in terms of we want it to look this way?
You start on paper, so they know how it looks on paper, but then you got to show them video because there's guys in front of those routes that are drawn on paper and things. So you got to show versus all different types of looks and stuff. And some guys learn better on paper, some do it visually off film, and we always do both.
We see Fred Warner leading the team in huddles, out of huddles, many times a day, and I'm sure he does it other times. How comforting is it for you to know like he's got some of that taken care of? I imagine most of that's energy, right? And do you ever tell Fred, hey, maybe can you say a little this at any time? Do you ever?
I do sometimes. I usually do at halftime when we're doing a bunch of stuff and a bunch of adjustments, things like that. And I usually have Fred talk to the guys right before we go out. But Fred's always going to talk because he's a true leader. And Fred should be the guy who talks because of how he carries himself every day. I mean, everyone knows how good of a player he is, but when it comes to what he does day in and day out since he's been here, his attention to detail at practice and meetings and in games, he's ahead of everybody. And so he earns that by his play and by how he carries himself.
Just that about how a team has not won after playing you or in the regular season seem to speak to your team's physicality. Are the Eagles a team that can, stand toe-to-toe and match that physicality?
Dallas did that last week. When teams come ready to play, I just feel like we seem to do it every single week. But this is the playoffs, and it's very rare that you don't get a team that gives all they have at this time of year. So I feel we're used to doing that week in, week out, but this time of year, that's what you expect from everyone.
The matchup with Hassan Reddick early in his career when he was in Arizona, how has he changed as a player? How has he?
I just think he's playing a real good scheme for him. I think he gets a lot more opportunities. And I just think pass rushers, the more they play in this league and stay healthy and hang around, the better they get. It's hard to rush the quarterback in this league, and he's gotten better each year. He's playing at the top of his game right now, and he's always been a good player. We loved him coming out of college, but you can tell he just gets better and better each year.
Brock got a taste of work in Silent Count in Seattle. How did he do in that scenario, and how can you kind of simulate and help him with that this week?
We'll do the same thing we did that week. That was huge just because that was our first game really all year that it was that important, and Brock kind of had experience with it, and so it was great to have that, especially with us going to Philly. I remember us talking about that week that we needed that rep in case we ended up in the NFC Championship at Philly, and we got that, and I'm very fortunate that we did, and I feel we're good to go. He knows what to expect. He knows how we do it, and we'll give him reps at it all week, but he got it ready on just a Wednesday when he played Thursday, so I feel it won't be an issue this week.
Just crank up the
crank it up.
calling gotten better with him since he's come in? I mean, is that more fluid since December?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been pretty fluid from the beginning, but I mean, it gets easier and easier each week. Brock there's lots of times that the headset will cut off, and there's a number of times we don't have to use the timeout and stuff because he's got a lot of those plays memorized anyways. I think he gets better at anticipating the calls that I'm going to do. So once he starts to hear a formation, I mean, I'll always finish it, but he's already walking to the huddle, kind of finishing what I'm saying. So he was good from the beginning, and he's only getting better at it.
We've talked about Eric Armstead a lot, but I'm curious what your impressions of him were as an offensive coordinator in the league before you got here, and how your view of him changed while coaching him during your time here.
I remember going against the Niners defense the most in 16 when we were in Atlanta, and their season was kind of over. And I didn't get to notice those guys much, him and Armstead and Buck, because just the way they were playing the whole game. They weren't penetrating. They were in frog stances and playing real sound run defense and stuff, and we weren't really attacking them that way. So I remember not being sure on the overall of the defense playing against them Atlanta. And then when I got to kind of hunker down and we looked into the job and stuff, being able to watch him, Buck, Jimmy Ward, just to see some of the pillars that they already had, and we're hoping that we could get something in to help them.
When you guys beat them in week 2 last year, Jalen Hurts looked a little bit raw still at that time. What did you see? What have you seen about him that has improved, and that team in general that's different from when you guys beat him in week 2 last year?
He's just gotten more consistent. I mean, you can see in that game the ability that he has and what he was close to doing a number of times. I mean, he made some big throws in that game, and we contained him fairly well, but I think we were up 17-3, like with 5 minutes to go, and then he started getting going again, and they brought it right into a one-score game. So you could see the ability that he had real early on, and I know towards the end of that year he started getting on a roll, and that's when did they make the playoffs last year? Yeah, that's why they ended up making it, because how good he got after that. But we could see signs of it in that game, and now just watching him this year, hearing about it, he's borderline NFL MVP, and then turning the film on these last 2 days, he's just like how he was with potential, and now he's doing it down in and down out.
Is there anything specific that Brock saw on Sunday from the Dallas defense that can prep him for what he'll see on Sunday from the Eagles defense?
I mean, I think Dallas's defense was the first defense in a while for us that was really good in all their areas, just at the D-line, in the middle, linebacker, and the secondary, and the way they played. So that was a true playoff defense, and it put a lot of pressure on our guys. And I thought it was a great test for him because I don't think he played much different than he had in all the other games. I mean, stuff was tighter, things were harder, but he still protected the ball very well and made a few big plays in some key moments. That 3rd and 2 slant to Ayuk, the 3rd and 3, I think, to Christian in a tight area. The slant to Kittle on a first down, that was a big one. So, I mean, that was a game where every single play felt like it was the most important play in the game, and it could go either way, and he played like he always has.
It's pretty remarkable to think back to training camp when he's only getting about 5 snaps in team drills or 5 passes in team drills. And, I mean, how did he maximize those opportunities to show you something?
It is. I mean, that showed, I think, he was pretty good in those times. We weren't. When you get a quarterback where we did, and you already have 2 guys, I mean, in the ideal world, you're hoping to keep that guy on the practice squad. But he was looking so good in his reps in practice that eventually we let him go in the game, and then he looked that way in the game. So we thought it would be way too much of a risk to lose him. So that's why we ended up having to make the decision we did, which isn't always fun for overall roster, but I'm sure glad that we did it. And he looked that way right away, and so he has a natural ability to play the position, and that's why he's fun to coach, because when he does make mistakes and do things, he can see it, he can know why, we can see it, and we can all understand it, which gives him a chance to get better.
Yeah, that play the other day where he had a shot at Dak and he didn't really take it because he was afraid of making the penalty, and that's a sort of a dilemma you'll face a lot coming up on Sunday. How do you sort of navigate that, with Jalen when he's running?
Oh, I mean, we talk about that every week in and week out. That one was, I think, it wasn't that he was just scared to get the penalty. It was that where he was, he thought he was going to throw it, so he was getting ready to put his hands up to tip it. And then all of a sudden, I think he shocked him that he didn't do it, and then he was in an awkward position. So that's stuff that you talk about all the time. It's a huge challenge for these guys. I mean, we're expecting this quarterback to run it. We're expecting him to lower his shoulder, so we always got to come out and treat him like a running back until he gives himself up, which is sliding or being in that pocket. And when he does, our guys are good enough athletes to have to deal with it. Yeah, he's a good slider.
D'Amico's obviously been heavily sought after. How would you describe his strengths as a coordinator?
I mean, I think it starts as a man. I mean, he's the ideal leader, whatever he does. He was that way when he came in to Houston as a rookie linebacker. I mean, he took over that defense right away. You could tell who was in charge when he was a 21-year-old. He came in here as a quality control, and within like 6 months, we moved to a linebacker coach, and he's always been that guy. And then just watching him over these 2 years. What he took in his years learning to get there, how much better he runs the system, and then he adjusts every week. He sees how to play an offense. He pays attention to offense and defense. Thought he was ready last year to be a head coach, and I hope his wife doesn't get mad, but I hope he's not a head coach next year. But if he is, he more than deserves it.
With all the motion that you do, kind of forcing defenses to react to what you guys are doing, how much does that prevent the defense then from giving a disguise coverage? And then, having a rookie quarterback, how much does that benefit him if that's all the case there?
I mean, that's up to them. It's sometimes that you can keep your disguises, and sometimes it makes it more challenging. So that's just what other people decide to do. If they want to decide to do that, and maybe that can make it harder for them or harder for us, but maybe it can make them late to some things we want to hit pretty quick. So there's give and take to everything, and that's why you try to see everything as not like a problem. If someone's causing a problem on something, it usually opens up a good thing in another area, and you got to balance out your game plan so you can do that.
I'm going to cheat and ask 2 questions, but
Everyone's doing that, especially you.
Kyle Juszczyk said that you have a sort of a different development pattern for rookies. Make sure they get a lot of reps, make sure they get a lot of attention, as opposed to where he started his career. Is that an intentional thing on your part that you came up with? And the second question is, this is your 3rd time in the last 4 years at this level. Obviously, you were in the Super Bowl with Atlanta. There's some frustrations, obviously, from those previous ones. How do you not let those frustrations get to you at a moment like this?
I don't read all your articles. I just treat it as a football game. And when you lose big games, those are hard, real hard, however they happen. And you got to deal with that forever. But I feel like that's what kind of hardens you to it and makes you get back to the reality of what it really is. It's the reality of it is it's a really good football game that I loved watching growing up. It's probably my favorite thing to do in the world, and I feel very blessed that I get to be somewhat a part of it. And you prepare so hard during the week, you don't think about that other stuff. When we're playing the game, the players are playing the game, we're coaching the game, and you go off exactly what you think based off your preparation and what you've worked at to try to learn, and you don't ever look back. The only time that I ever have regrets in games is when I feel I've made decisions that I didn't want to make, or you don't feel like that was the right decision, you went for another reason. It's been a long time since I've done something like that, and when you do that, you're excited for these moments, win or lose. A lot of people don't like the pressure of it, players, people in general, because you put yourself out there, and it's really tough if you don't come up victorious. But like I've always said and heard growing up, there's only one team that's happy at the end of the year, and the other 31 teams aren't. And you always keep going and try to be that team, and you do that till you're done playing or until you're done coaching. Rookie development is more just player development. I mean, this isn't college. Like you don't just get redshirt years, and guys who think they do get that are usually out of the league in 2 to 3 years. So it's more that I don't necessarily think it's just rookies. I guess our whole building does that, but I put pressure on a lot of people because the guys that think they have time, just the more experience you have, you realize they don't have time. It might be the next play, which everyone says, but I mean, think if Brock Purdy would have thought he had this whole year, would have ruined our whole team season. I try to tell that to running backs all the time, to wide receivers. we played with like 4 to 5 backs, I think 6 years in a row. So the practice squad guys are pretty damn important too. The guys who think they're just doing practice squad and you have a couple of injuries, and the only way you can get to the playoffs or go to the playoff games is if you have good guys on practice squad or good rookies ready to step up. So there's not just guys usually sitting out there waiting to know your scheme and replace people. All right, thanks, guys.
I think you heard Kyle talk about the big game, and you don't think about what the consequences are, like the possibly losing or what you were going to feel like. You've been in some big games. Obviously, the Super Bowl loss was pretty big. Is that how you approach it? Like you can't think about what the end might be like?
Yeah, definitely not thinking about the end right now. Thinking about each moment and each day.
Do you feel that momentum building up, within the locker room, within yourself, because the games are getting bigger and bigger?
I do, yeah. I think this team rises to the occasion of each next step that we take, and I'm really confident in this squad.
How different does that Eagles offense look from the team you saw week 2 last year, particularly how far has Hurts come from what you can see?
I haven't watched too much of him yet, just some run game stuff at this point. So, but yeah, I think both of us are a lot better teams than we were in that matchup.
From what you know of them or little that you may have seen of them, is this a team that physically can match you guys? It's just physicality, violence, some of the stuff you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, every team at this point is going to be playing physical and giving everything they got. I think Dallas did a good job of that. But yeah, we've been tested a lot this year, and I think this will be as big of a test as there is.
Is their offense particularly complicated in the run game, or is it just sort of sharp with how they do?
Yeah, I think really well coached on the O-line and smart, savvy, and then obviously the running quarterback component is an extra piece.
It's because Fred walked in, but we always see Fred breaking the huddle, leading the team, getting the energy of how important is that to a team, just to have somebody who continues to be talking to everybody.
Super important, But no, he's a great leader and gets our mind right whenever we need it. Glad to have him.
I was wishing you were going critical of him there.
Nick, D'Amico's being sought after. A lot of teams want to have him as their coach. If they asked you about him, what would you say about D'Amico?
He's going to be a great head coach. I think he's as good as it gets when it comes to the scheme on defense, but as a leader of men, he's as good as it gets.
Challenges that Mailata presents that are unique for tackles, given his unique background coming from rugby fairly recently?
I don't know about unique. He's huge, and he's a good player. So, but yeah, I'm gonna have to watch more on the pass game throughout the week.
Said somebody who sort of leads by example, isn't super outspoken. Is there something that he's ever said to you, or something that you've seen him do that's really stuck in your mind in terms of him setting the tone or being a leader for that group?
Yeah, I think Eric does. He leads in his own way, and every once in a while, especially this time of year, he'll do something like send a text early in the week is something that he does, because he watches more film than anybody, I'd say, on the D-line. So I think he's kind of like the quarterback of our D-line, where he'll kind of set the stage of what we're going to need to do this week to get it done.
They had that deep throw to CeeDee Lamb down the left sideline. You weren't on the field. I think you missed 3 straight plays, which is just rare. Were you okay, or were you fine and just saying, can I get back in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think I played every snap up to that point, so The way we play on the D-line, we need to rotate, and we've done that all year. So.
Facing a mobile quarterback again has been really tough and challenging for your defensive line. How do you feel like you guys have gotten better at that throughout the season?
Yeah, I think we got tested in that Raiders game kind of unexpectedly, and it kind of reminded us of what a kryptonite could be of the way we play, and just being smart, not trying to go make a crazy play to change it, just playing within the scheme, and that's how you win at this time of year.
All right, thanks guys. Fred's right here. We got Evo right after that.
Look at that. We're back.
The NFL with 12 read option touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. You guys rank per PFF 19 against the rush on read option.
Good old PFF.
How can you improve on that specific side with the challenges that they bring with the read option?
With the read option, anytime you're facing a quarterback that has that type of ability, you just got to be on your assignments, for a full 60 minutes, which is way easier said than done. There's times in a game where you might be part of a long drive, guys get tired, and all of a sudden the first thing that goes is your mind, and you forget where you might need to fit in a certain play. But yeah, it's all about being detailed and everybody swarming to the ball, getting to the ball carrier if or when he does pull it.
The game against the Cowboys had kind of a backyard brawl feel, given that the stakes are higher and maybe the Eagles are maybe even more equipped to play that way. Do you expect I don't know, maybe a backyard brawl, but something even more physical than that?
Yeah, I expect it to be a battle all the way through. Both the Cowboys and Eagles are both physical, talented teams who are really fast and have a lot of talent. So just like it was a battle this past week, I'm expecting that, if not more, this week. Them being in their home stadium, home crowd behind them, they're going to be juiced up, ready to go.
How has that offense evolved/improved since the last time you faced them?
I think obviously just the addition of some of their playmakers. I guess most noticeably is A.J. Brown, all-pro receiver, and the evolution of all the other guys that have been on their team, as in Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith, all those guys that they use, Dallas Goedert. I go down the list. All of them have gotten better this season, so that's equal to a more complete offense. Their O-line is all even better this season. So, yeah.
How has Hurts evolved?
I think just the command of the offense and knowing where to go with the ball, being more decisive. Obviously, he's a dynamic playmaker, always has been, but using his legs to create plays and, just launching the ball downfield to the guys who can go up and make plays. I think that's what's kind of elevated him into being an all-pro quarterback.
Right. Third time in 4 years you guys are here, you kind of look back at that wallpaper. Can you describe the appreciation, also the difficulty of doing what you guys have done in this 4-year span?
Yeah, you work all season, obviously, to get up to this point, and, just me looking at that just kind of reminded me of, it seems like just yesterday when we were getting ready to play the Rams, right? But it takes such a long season, a long grind, and you think about everything that we've went through up to this point just to even get to this point. It's a grind all season, and I think this part of the year and this game specifically, it's all mental. Obviously everybody's bodies are beaten down mentally. You're drained, but who can do right longer? Who can continue to push through for the end goal? Do you want it that bad? Are you starving for it? Is that something that you're going to get out of bed and do whatever possible to make sure that you attain that goal? So that's where we're at.
What stands out to you about Diamador Lenore? What are his best attributes in your mind?
I think just the competitive spirit. People are going to knock him on his size and plays that he might have given up, but it doesn't matter. For him, he's willing to go down there and get his nose dirty in the run game, tackling guys physically, regardless of his size. That's why people kind of call him a pit bull. He'll call himself a hyena, whatever you want to call it. He's a competitor, and he's going to go up. He's going to compete for the football in the air. He's not afraid of anybody. And I think that's what makes him so great, and he's obviously played huge for us.
Yeah, nice. hit on the sideline on CD Lamb. Did that jump out to you in film review?
I mean, that's something he's done also. You look back at the Seattle game, he did the same thing to Lockett, on our sideline. So he's just continuing to be himself and gaining more confidence, which is obviously producing better results.
You enjoy being in coverage, and have you evolved that part of your game?
I mean, it's always something that I've been more comfortable with. Obviously doing that a lot back in college and so forth helped me to do those type of things. And now here at this level, I've just try to evolve my game to being a more complete inside backer, so I can play in the box, play in the back end, do everything as well as possible.
All right, Debo's right here.
Thanks, guys.
Kind of touched upon it a little bit, that, after the grind of the season, week by week, day by day, you got to usually have that attitude. Do you allow yourself to let the excitement of, kind of what potentially is on the other side of this game?
You can't too much look ahead. As we do the whatever it takes meeting on Wednesdays, the things that Cal talk about, like what it takes to win the game, it just gets you up and ready for just being in the moment, just getting ready for the team that's ahead of, not just thinking of the Super Bowl, even though everybody know that's the end and goal.
Red noted the Rams game last year, and I think you were the last guy to leave the field after that game. Do you think about that moment? Have you thought about that moment this week, and what does last year's loss sort of mean to you as far as motivation?
Not just from last year, but I could just go back to my rookie year making the Super Bowl, and you still just have that bad taste in your mouth. And as you go back to last year, we're a couple of plays to making the Super Bowl again, and you just kind of like, dang, like what is it really going to take for us to get there? We just have to minimize the mistakes, and everybody have to be on their assignment for us to be where we want to be at the end of the year.
But when we look at this team, people have a tendency to characterize the offense. They talk about Jalen Hurts, but if you look at the other side of the ball, they're just as impressive there. What do you see about them that is different from, say, week 2 when you guys beat them last year? How have they evolved? What do you see when you see their defense?
They're pretty fast. Their D-line try to time the snap cadence a good bit. That they kind of hone themselves on getting off the ball and getting after the quarterback. And me personally, I kind of think they last week settled Purdy down a little bit, because that's probably the best defense we faced all year, with from top to bottom, from D-line to the backers to the safety, about how fast that team is. And I think it kind of calmed Purdy down, and I feel like he'll be ready this week to go.
How have you see him evolve over the last 7 weeks?
I kind of like say this all the time, but I go back to preseason against Houston. How he just have this attitude and this competitive edge of himself. Is like, he don't care if he mess up. If he do it, he's gonna do it full speed, and then we'll talk about it at the end of the day. But just how I've seen him grow throughout the whole year, from getting 0 snaps to being a starter of this team. And with the guys that we have around him, like from our guy, Trent, being the leader that he are, and everybody else just honing around him, just giving him confidence to be who we need him to be.
Kyle said you won't practice today with the ankle. Did that pop up in the game, or just kind of soreness?
He's just kind of sore. Just being pretty cautious. Just try to get ready for Sunday. Nah.
There was a moment in the game where the headset went out for Kyle and he couldn't get the play call in. Did you notice that? Did Brock say anything about it?
Nah.
What do you think about the environment in Philadelphia? You guys, have as much swag as any team in the league, and I think that environment has as much swag as any in the league. What do you think about just playing there?
I mean, we know it's gonna be loud. But no stadium is as loud as ours. But at the end of the day, they're at home, NFC Championship. They're gonna be all riled up, and it don't really too much. We don't really too much feed into all that. We put the pads on and just go to work.
Chance to catch many passes from Brock through camp, obviously, because when you came in, you were working with Trey. So when did you kind of start developing a rapport with him? Did it wait until he finally replaced Jimmy?
I mean, I don't think too many people got a lot of snaps with Brock or during camp, but I mean, it's just I mean, it's the league. You never know what's going to happen, and you just make the best out of every opportunity you get. So once he became the quarterback, I mean, we practice every day, all day. We meet, we talk. So I just think the chemistry is just built from there.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm gonna bring Brock in right away. So if you wanna hang tight.
Do you think that the Cowboys were the best defense you faced to date? And if so, how do you think that's kind of prepared you for your opponent on Sunday?
Yeah, I do. I think they, had a great front. I thought their secondary was really, talented and skilled. So all around, I think their scheme was really good too. So I do think it was one of the best defenses that I've seen, that our team has seen this year. And obviously, this week's going to be a great challenge with the front that Philadelphia has. So I thought it was a good game to have and to work through and learn from. For this week's matchup.
Kyle said that you, before the Seattle game, worked silent count that week, and he even then was thinking, like, this could be good because we may play Philly in the NFC Championship game. Did he mention that to you at the time? And what is the key to, being good at working silent?
Yeah, when we played Seattle that week and everything, he did say it was good preparation for what, we were or what we might have to, play in terms of the playoffs, going on the road for road games and obviously for Philadelphia. And it's just everything, in these kind of games is all about communication. How can you operate smoothly, get in and out of the huddle, get the play off in the right way, make sure everyone's on the same page. So that's definitely a big emphasis this week, just at practice with the little things, the details of, communicating and being on point, and that starts with the cadence. So it's going to be huge for us.
Along those lines, yeah, the headset went out for one play on Sunday, third down or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
So does that happen a lot? How do you handle it? What do you do in those situations?
I mean, it was really just, a personnel issue that we had. We're trying to get the right amount of guys on the field, and obviously the play clock was going down, and so it just became one of those things where we got the play in a little late, and we just ran what I heard, but it wasn't the exact right play. But in the moment, like, that's just on us players. I feel like to be prepared and know what coach is trying to call, and those kind of things. I put that more on myself than anything, but. I think other than that, Kyle does a great job of getting the play in and everything operating pretty smoothly. But
Is that like the first time that's ever happened?
there was a couple other times, early in the year, but we got the play off in the right way. That was the first time we didn't get the play in and we ran the wrong play. So, it happens. It's part of the game, but we want to do our best to eliminate those kind of things from happening. So.
Kyle ever call a play and you say to yourself, I don't like it, and then you call your own play?
No. Whatever he calls, I have full faith and trust, and I run it. So, yeah.
Can you go back to training camp and remember, you didn't get many opportunities, obviously, probably about 10% of the team snaps. So how did you deal with that? Was it frustrating, and just how did you try to maximize the opportunities?
Yeah, at the time, obviously, Trey and Nate were taking the majority of the reps, and so I got a couple plays at the end of each period, but for me, it was, how can I, do the reps that I have to the best of my ability, do everything, the little things right. I didn't make it more than what it was. I just kept it simple, went through my reads and showed them that I can take care of the simple plays that they give me, throughout practice and stuff. So, but definitely wanted to, have the opportunity that I had to show them, that I can play. So that was just about building trust back then.
You remember from the college game against Oklahoma when you and Jalen went up against each other? Any memories that stand out from that game?
Yeah, it was a game, obviously there was a lot of points scored. It was almost like you had to score every single time you had the ball almost. Different situation and scenario than what we're about to go through, on Sunday. But, it was a fun college game. It was a great experience to go against, Jalen, and they had a great team, and he was making plays and stuff, and feel like we had to do the same to keep up and stay alive in that game as well. But, this is a different situation, different scenario going into Sunday.
You were sacked a couple times early, threw a bunch after that, never was sacked again. Was that just a matter of you realizing you might have to get the ball out sooner? Was there an adjustment in play calling? And how would you account for that?
Yeah, I would say it was a mix of both things. I think it was a reality for myself in terms of knowing, like, I can't hold on to the ball all day. I have to be in rhythm. I have to be in time within the play that's called, and help my O-line out by giving them confidence, by getting the ball out, allowing them to, get settled in the game early. And then also, Kyle called some plays after that to allow that set up, the pass game later so that the offensive line could get settled, that I could get settled. And then once we got into a rhythm, things were better in the second half. So.
The Oklahoma game, right? Two questions here. The Oklahoma game, the 2-point conversion, that was a very tight window. Did you, for a moment think that was a completion and you guys had won the game? And then also that was, not the first time you experienced a road atmosphere like that, but it was a night game in Norman with 80,000 people. Does that collective experience kind of maybe make what you're about to face Sunday a little less overwhelming?
Yeah. To answer the first part, yeah, I thought it was a completion. Obviously, it sucked not getting the completion and the game being over, but yeah, that was that. In terms of the environment and everything, yeah, those kind of games definitely helped. I feel like with, just a lot being on the line, in the moment, focusing on what's in front of you, focusing on the defense, rather than getting caught up in, the crowd and all that kind of stuff. So I played in a couple of those games, in college. And I think that was just it's a great experience for me to go back to and remember, like, how I felt, what was going through my mind, how did it affect my decisions, things like that. So definitely feel like I've grown from it, and yeah, I'm glad I went through something like that.
You seem really comfortable going left. Now, more games under your belt, Brock. Is that something you want to change? Would you like to go more right? What are you seeing from yourself on those situations?
Yeah, honestly, I hope I don't have to scramble, so that's not something, I have in my mind. but I mean, it is part of the game. I just feel like how the pocket has collapsed. That's just an area I feel like I've gone to. But you know, it's not something that I'm going like, man, I got to stop going left or I need to go more right. It's part of the game. It's a natural feel, I feel like, in the moment. So it's not something that I'm practicing or anything like that. So
All right, thanks, guys.
thanks, guys.
10 more